You step on the scale, you're 20 pounds down and you should be pumped, but instead you're staring in the mirror thinking, why the hell do I still look fat? You're expecting abs or some sort of muscle tone, but instead you've got this sort of weird in-between look where you're lighter, but you're not leaner, and you're just a smaller version of the same out of shape you that you were trying to escape before. This video is for every guy who's lost weight but didn't get the physique that he thought he was signing up for. I'm going to explain exactly why this happens and what you actually need to do next. I've been there myself. A few years ago, I put all my effort in to try and escape skinny fat. I went on this massive elongated cut and I tracked my food. I hit the gym like really hard. My steps were up and my scale weight went all the way down. I actually lost about 70 pounds in 6 months. But when I looked in the mirror, all I saw was the same physique that I hated, but just a smaller version of it. I'd lost weight, but I just didn't look like it. And I actually just hated that version of myself. And then it actually dawned on me that I didn't just need to lose fat, but I actually needed to build something underneath the fat to actually make your appearance look a lot better. Here's the best way I can explain it. It's almost like cleaning your room. So if your room's really dirty and outdated, you clean all the floors, you mop it up, you get rid of all the cobwebs, you wipe down all the sides. So actually, yeah, you've cleaned your room, but at the end of it, you've still got all the old furniture, which is outdated and still looks bad. So even though your room's clean, it's still not the best looking that it can be and the aesthetic that you actually want it to look like. And that's what happens when you diet without building muscle. You're removing fat, but where there's no structure underneath, there's nothing to actually show off. And that, my friend, is the skinny fat trap. And just quickly, before we get into why you're still skinny fat, even though you're losing weight, you can grab my free skinny fat flowchart in the description below. Here's the problem. Most guys treat fat loss like it's this magic switch. So you flip the switch, you burn some fat, and then all of a sudden you've got this magical six pack and you look like Ryan Gosling. But that's not actually how it works. In reality, it's actually more like removing your winter coat in the middle of winter when it's like 2 degrees outside and it's freezing cold, and then you just forgot to put a shirt on underneath. That's exactly what dieting down without focusing on muscle retention or growth is actually like. Because you didn't build the muscle that actually gives your body shape, you don't have any shoulders, you don't have any chest, and you don't have any definition in general. So yeah, you're lighter, but you're still gonna look flat because you haven't built the structure underneath, so you're eventually just gonna look skinny fat. And this happens for a few reasons. Number one is where you've lost weight, but not enough fat. And this is where most guys think that they're sitting at around 15% body fat when they're actually closer to 20% or even 25% body fat. So they cut 10 to 15 pounds and yeah, they feel smaller, but that's because they're nowhere near lean enough. So going from 25% body fat to 18% body fat will not reveal your abs, and it'll just make you look like a smaller version of yourself. Number two is that you didn't build any muscle first before going on a long cut, and that basically is like thinking that you're going to get abs when the abs weren't even there in the first place. So you're going to lose fat, and then in the end there's nothing to reveal underneath, so obviously you're going to look like a smaller version of yourself anyway, and you're going to still look skinny fat. Number three is that your fat comes off in the worst places last. So for most guys it's the belly, chest and lower back, which makes you have the appearance of skinny fat even though you're on your way to fixing it in the first place. So you might have lost a lot of weight and still look skinny fat. It's just because you're nowhere near lean enough and you haven't got to the full extent of your cut yet. It's quite similar to like trying to peel off one of those stubborn stickers. You know when you stick a sticker on something and you're trying to peel it off, and then the corners are going to come off easy, but the middle gets stuck on and you have to end up scraping it off. That's essentially what your body's like with losing fat. It's going to come off of everything else first, and it's going to come off of your lover handles, sort of like your chest and your belly last. So that's why abs are quite hard to get and quite a rarity. Now I'm going to discuss the roadmap of getting out of skinny fat, and that leads us on to the question of what should you do instead? So if dieting harder isn't the answer, then what actually is the answer? Escaping the skinny fat trap is not about getting smaller and losing weight. It's about becoming muscular and then getting lean enough to reveal the muscle that you've built. You've got two options. You've either got a lean bulk or a mini cut. A lean bulk is where you're just going to slowly gain weight week on week, really focus on hitting the gym hard as much as you can and build as much muscle as possible, and do this over a long period of time to give yourself the best chance of gaining a lot of muscle as well. And then a mini cut is where you go into a short fat loss phase to try and trim off as much excess fat as possible, get a bit leaner, so then you can go into the lean bulk and build as much muscle as possible. So which one should you choose out of the two? It's all to do with your body fat percentage. So if you're over 15% body fat, then I'd go into a mini cut first, then go into a lean bulk. But if you're under 15% body fat, then I would go straight into a lean bulk, meaning that you can maximize your chances of gaining muscle. The mistake that most people make, which you need to avoid as well, is that they either bulk when they're already too high in body fat, which then just makes them fatter because their body's not in a prime position to gain muscle, or they cut when they don't even have enough muscle yet and they just end up looking skinny fat again. If you want a clear visual whether you should mini cut or lean bulk, then I'll link my free skinny fat flowchart in the description below, so you can grab that and it's going to give you a clear indication of what you need to do to fix skinny fat. And being skinny fat doesn't mean that you've failed. So yeah, you've lost a bit of weight and you still look skinny fat, but you've got to think of it like a starting point. It just means you started in a tricky place and you're still in a tricky place, but all you need to think about is that you just need more muscle. So then when you go into a really long cut eventually after the mini cut and lean bulk cycles, then you're actually going to have a physique that's worth revealing underneath your body fat. And the good news is that you don't need perfect genetics to do that. You're not going to be stuck in the skinny fat phase forever, and you don't need to start over again. You just need a strategy that's built for your current body composition. So whether that's a lean bulk to build up some muscle before you then go into a longer cut again, or whether that's a mini cut to sharpen up some body fat before then you focus on building some muscle, you've basically already done the hard part, which is getting started, because that is definitely the hardest part. And most people will just sit around watching Netflix, sit and doom scroll TikTok, and they won't even step foot in the gym. So just try not to beat yourself up and just try and stay as consistent as you can. So all you need to do now is to just pick a direction, and like I said, just aim for consistency and not perfection, because that is basically the secret to getting in great shape. And you're probably wondering how long it's going to take to go from skinny fat to actual visible abs. How many weeks is it going to take? How many pounds is it going to take for you to lose? And how much commitment is it going to take as well? And that's exactly what I'm going to cover in this video here. So give it a watch if you want to know the exact timeline it takes to go from skinny fat to six-pack abs based on your current body, and it's not going to be just some generic advice that you see on most YouTube videos, because it's actually going to motivate you to stay on plan if you have the time frame.